What's up, MFers? Don't be alarmed. That's not me calling you mother effers. That means you're a watcher of the Michigan Football Report, MFR. By doing so, you yourself are an MFer. And if you haven't followed me on Twitter, make sure you do. It's at James Yoder. Tweet at me that you're an MFer, that you watch the show. I'll follow you back. As I said, I'm following everybody back the rest of the season who tweets me that they are an MFer and saw it on the show. One note. Film this mailbag. We got a Michigan football mailbag. Some big-time questions coming out of the weekend. Film this Monday afternoon, Monday evening. It was supposed to go up Tuesday morning. Probably going to push it to Wednesday now. So if anything happens between now and Wednesday morning regarding the Michigan football shutdown that we put on the channel on Monday afternoon, early Monday afternoon, bear with us, okay? So that's just what I'm going to make sure you guys know there. First question coming up from Colin Richendaler. That's a great name. I'm sorry, Connor Richendaler, all-time name Hall of Fame. Do you think the defensive struggles are Don Brown's fault or the lack of talent at certain positions? Well, I don't think it's actually either. I think it's a lack of organizational strategy. What do I mean by that? Is recruiting has to go hand in hand with what you're trying to accomplish as a program, right? Example of that. Josh Gaddis wants to run speed and space. Michigan starts recruiting faster receivers over the last two recruiting classes, shorter guys who can catch a 5-yard swing pass, take it 80 yards. We haven't really seen that much, but that's what I mean by organizational structure. So they've done it a little bit better on the offensive side of the ball. Defensive side of the ball, if you are going to run an offense defense like Don Brown wants to, tight man-to-man coverage, one-on-one, you've got to have awesome cornerbacks, which Michigan has not recovered, okay? It was not recruited. Michigan is not recruited at the interior defensive line. They don't seem to be recruiting very good backups to the defensive line back lately. So organizational strategy. Don, what kind of defense do you want to run? I want to run this kind of defense. Great. We're going to make sure no matter what, that we have got the players to match your defense. So I think Don Brown has definitely lost his mind a little bit with his strategies. But the recruiting under Matt Dudek has been an absolute disaster when it comes to recruiting and identifying positions that Michigan desperately needs talent at: defensive tackle, defensive end, cornerback. Safety's been okay, but Dax Hill's not playing that well as far as I can see. But that is the reason. I think if Don Brown had much better players, I don't think the defense would be any near as bad, no matter what his decisions were, as they are now. But check out the batting matchup for this weekend's game if it happens against Maryland. Again, the game gets canceled between Monday evening and Wednesday morning. Okay, so you have to see this and there's no game. Whatever. Michigan's a 5-point favorite as we're filming this Monday night. 57.5 point over-under. I think you'd be crazy if you bet Michigan. If the game happens and you bet Michigan, you're crazy. You're throwing your money away. But if you still want to bet them, make sure you do it with our partner, BetUS. I love betting on sports. I love betting on college football. I love betting on the NFL. I love betting. My boy Sam behind the camera, producer Sam on the ones and twos. Chicken. He loves betting things. He's putting money on like whether or not Mike Tyson will smoke weed during his boxing match. That's the kind of crazy stuff they let you do at BetUS. Probably 125% deposit bonus. Chatsports.com/GoBlue. Make sure you use that URL, because if you don't, you won't get the deposit bonus. Type in that promo code GoBlue to lock it in, and you will be hooked up for a great 100%, 25% deposit bonus. Put in 100, extra 125. Put in 200, extra 250. You guys have heard me before. You know the drill. If you're going to bet on sports, which I encourage you to do responsibly, make sure you do it with our preferred partner, where I make all my bets at BetUS. Stephen Brown with the next question. That's a good one. Along with Don Brown, do you think Jay Harbaugh should be replaced as the running backs coach? Should Michigan do everything they can do to bring in Mike Hart? I don't know of a situation in college football history where you've got a son of a coach who's done a really good job coaching under his dad. At least not one that I can remember, right? Jay Paterno. Another Jay Harbaugh, Jay Paterno. Bobby Bowden's son's, not Bobby, but yeah, the one son was like the offensive coordinator there for a while. He didn't work out, something like that. But it never really works out because the dad doesn't hold the son accountable. And so here's what I'll say. If Jim Harbaugh is the coach next year, hire Nick Sheridan as the offensive coordinator. I don't think about, Mike Hart coming in as running backs coach. Cool, if he's along with Nick Sheridan. If Jim Harbaugh returns, you've got two Michigan men leading an Iowa team on offense that put up 500 yards passing on Ohio State less than 2 weeks ago, right? Why would you not consider hiring that guy as your offensive coordinator? He runs a very, very progressive passing system. He's done it with, he's his first year. He's done it right out of the gate as an offensive coordinator, something Josh Gaddis couldn't do. And he's been in that system. He knows what they're doing in Indiana. He can bring that same offensive style that gives a lot of teams fits. bring it to Michigan, and he could be essentially groomed as your next head coach should Jim Harbaugh stay for another 4 or 5 years. You want a Michigan man there? Mike Hart's great. Not as offensive coordinator. Maybe as running backs coach, sure. But I don't think it makes sense unless you do it with Nick Sheridan as your offensive coordinator. All right, next question up, Mike. You crazy guy, Mike. Who's better at recruiting, Jim Harbaugh or Ryan Day? I mean, are we even talking right now? Ryan Day is light years ahead of Jim Harbaugh at this point, but it's not just Jim Harbaugh. Michigan has poor infrastructure when it comes to recruiting. I know this for a fact. Ohio State, they have Mark Pantoni, the best recruiting coordinator in college football. He's basically the GM of the Ohio State football program. That's why they can go from Urban Meyer to Ryan Day, not skip a beat in recruiting, and frankly, get a little bit better because Pantoni's kind of coming into his own. He's been in the job for 9 years now. So it's not even close between the two head coaches now. Now, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe Jim Harbaugh was a better recruiter, but he's not doing it right now. So I definitely think that Jim Harbaugh is nowhere close to Ryan Day. But Matt Dudek, being his right-hand man, being the guy that is responsible for recruiting in Michigan, is just a disaster waiting to happen because he is in way over his head. I can come in and be a recruiting coordinator. Guarantee you we have a top 4 class, get some of the best recruits out of Ohio every single year. Here's to 11,000 subscribers. We're filming this Monday night. We got 10,840 subscribers. Getting close to 11,000. I just want to thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart to you for watching the show. A lot of options out there when it comes to Michigan football news, reporting, recruiting, YouTube, podcasts, websites. The fact that you guys watch and watch consistently every day, we're trying to put out an episode. I think we've been about 6 days a week over the last month and a half. So thank you so much for those of you who subscribed. If you haven't, youtube.com/Michigan TV is always your source, or just go below the video, hit that red subscribe button. You will be an MFer. Next question up from Jeff Hurlbert. When did Harbaugh lose his fire? His press conference is like a deer in headlights. Look, I've watched a few of Harbaugh's post-game Zoom press conferences over the past few weeks, and the ones after the losses are starting to remind me of 2014 under Brady Hoke. And what do I mean by that? There was a time in 2014, like the Utah game and Wisconsin, or Utah-Maryland game, just games that Michigan just maybe should have won in most years. Rutgers, they lost to, and then the Michigan media that goes to press conferences wasted their time going to these press conferences. They don't ask tough questions. But when they finally do, Hoke looked like he was just so stressed out and spent and under duress and anxious that he would do things like this in the press conference. They're like, Coach Hoke, what'd you see there in the fourth quarter where you decided to let them score 50 more points on you? And he'd do things like this. Well, and go back and look at those press conferences. Harbaugh doesn't do these things, but he does look like a deer in headlights. I think he lost his fire when he kind of thought he was coming into Michigan in 2015, had a great year, took lemons and turned them into lemonade in 2015, 10-3 season, destroyed Florida in a bowl game, started 9-0 in 2016, lost just a wildly weird game against Iowa, beat Indiana, and then you have a big lead, a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter against Ohio State, and you can't get it done. You get jobbed on a call. JT was short. And I do think he has not been the same since. Some people have said about his health issues. They might have knee and hip issues that are kind of hold him down. And as someone who's got back issues, I can tell you this myself. There are days and sometimes weeks at a time where every moment of the day I'm thinking about my back being a problem. So if Jim Harbaugh's got that in his hip and he's 57, 56 years old, 20 or so years older than I am, I'm not going to tell you my age here, but that definitely can lay on you. It definitely can lose your fire. You're 56 and you've got hip issues. Listen, my mom had 2 hip replacements. I saw what she goes through. So if he hasn't got those fixed, that could definitely, kind of burn the fire from you. So next question up from Illini Loyalty. I know how to spell. I know how to pronounce. I don't say Illinois. I say Illinois. Okay, I know how to pronounce it. If Harbaugh's contract extended, how many years will he get? Maybe 3. I put this in the show on Sunday, right? Michigan is in a ridiculous position here. They don't have any option to do anything that makes any sense, right? If you extend Jim Harbaugh, you become the absolute laughingstock of college football. If you don't extend him, you either have to fire him, mutually part ways, he takes another job, okay. Maybe that's the best option at this point. But if you let him go into next year, it's the easiest negative recruiting of all time. Hey, who's going to be your football coach at Michigan? You go there next year. I'm Ryan Day. I'm any coach talking to a recruit. Jim Harbaugh, if he was the coach, they would have extended him. He's not going to be your coach. You don't even know who your coach is going to be. Come to Ohio State. We put players in the NFL, and you know who your coach is going to be. You have no idea what's going to happen there. easy recruiting game. It's going to be one of the weirder 2 or 3 weeks coming up because Michigan has to make a decision before they move on to next year. That was a question for some Illini loyalty, but I asked that question. Keep this up on screen for a second, Sam. If they did extend him, I do think 3 is a good number, but it would have to be like the most artificial 3 of all time. Like, hey, we'll extend you 3 years, $15 million. He's got to take a pay reduction. Blame it on coronavirus, blame it on athletic department, revenue losses. But if you do it, 3 years sounds right. But it's got to almost have no buyout for Michigan, right? No buyout. I mean, if you don't get it done, Harbaugh, if we're going to give you another year to save face, to kind of call this a mulligan year, which it shouldn't be, you need to come back and win. But we're not going to pay you those 3 years. It's got to be like a $2 million buyout or something like that, something really low compared to what it originally was, which was humongous. Brian Smith with the question. Do you think this is a good year to judge Harbaugh, even as bad as the team they've been? COVID isn't helping anyone. Well, if we get the rest of the season, then COVID certainly took its toll on Michigan. But I don't know if we can just give anyone a pass. Businesses all over the world have been impacted by COVID, and they just don't completely change how they operate. The ones that operate well, a lot of ways, have thrived, right? The one in college football and in real business. Think about Ohio State. They look great on the field. I know they had one scare with Indiana, but it only became close right at the end. Clemson, Alabama looks as good as they've ever been. So the teams that have the infrastructure and the strategy and the planning in place that Michigan doesn't seem to have thrived, right? The ones that haven't, they haven't. And that's just as simple as that. So I don't think we can give Harbaugh any sort of mulligan or anything like that. But I'll give him just this little one nugget. Michigan is down 17 starters from the end of the season last year, right? We've had you got 4 or 5 starting players injured right now. Cam McGrone, Jalen Mayfield, Aiden Hutchinson. I guess Kwity Paye came back. You've got a lot of injuries. Plus, you had 2 major opt-outs in Nico Collins, Jalen Mayfield. Lost 4 offensive linemen. So I would have given him 5-3, right? 6-3, 5-4 potentially with that crossover game, but 2-4, no way. Tyler Weisskopf, next question. When Jim Harbaugh leaves, who the team up north? But I think he means who will coach the team up north, and why is the answer John Harbaugh? Pretty good one. I'll tell you this. I met John Harbaugh. He was at my previous employer before I started Chat Sports. He was our speaker at a conference one time, and of course I walked up to him. This is right around the time that Brady Hoke was hired to coach in Michigan. It was like spring or summer 2011, and I started talking about his brother, about Michigan, about football. Where all these other people didn't really know what was going on. It was in the D.C. Baltimore area, and me and him stood there and talked for about 8 or 10 minutes while people were waiting in line to get a picture. And I asked him straight up, "What? Weren't you a candidate?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I would love to coach Michigan, but they didn't show my brother any love, so I'm not sure why. They didn't really offer me, they didn't come at me. But it seemed to me that he was interested in the Michigan job at that point. Brady Hoke got it, supporter of Brady Hoke. But when you hire his brother, if it goes wrong for his brother, just family ties, family values, it's just not going to happen. So I think it's a great option. And frankly, if Jim Harbaugh wasn't the coach right now, John Harbaugh would be absolutely the number one candidate as Michigan's next coach for a $12 million contract. But alas, you hired the guy with 3 letters in his first name, Jim, and not the one with 4. How about Jacob Miller? If this is Jim Harbaugh's last year, who would you pick as a replacement? You saw yesterday, I put out my video, top replacements. I've moved Matt Campbell to the top of that list. So I've got Matt Campbell 1. Who do I have number 2? Mario Cristobal, Oregon. Luke Fickell, number 3, who's the head coach at Cincinnati. Luke Fickell was 4. Joe Brady was 3. That's right. Luke Fickell 4. And number 5, who do we have? I'm just losing my mind here. Number 5, I'll kind of look. Tom Allen, that's right, Indiana's coach. So thanks for catching me off guard, Jacob. But good question. I have got Matt Campbell. He's proved it to me this year, especially beating Texas. But you beat Oklahoma this year, right? Right? Yeah, right, Sam? Right? Oklahoma producer Sam behind the mic. He doesn't want to answer that question. He's too afraid. He's a coward. But I don't know from you guys. Who do you want to be Michigan's head coach next year? You can say Jim Harbaugh. You can say Jim Harbaugh, but you can't just say Jim Harbaugh. You have to say Jim Harbaugh with reasons. You have to tell me why Jim Harbaugh. You can't just tell me Jim Harbaugh because that's just weak. You got to give me reasons because he hasn't proven it on the field this year. Trey Stone King, friend of the show, friend of the program. Thanks for watching. Trey, when will Michigan beat Ohio State again? Bosa, we coined the hashtag earlier in the season, and unfortunately, next year, 2021, is the only opportunity I see for Michigan in the near future to beat Ohio State again. Why do I say that? You're going to lose your quarterback, Justin Fields. Ohio State will start either a redshirt freshman or a true freshman quarterback next year. It's going to be C.J. Stroud, be Jack Miller, or it's going to be Kyle McCord, the true freshman. Michigan should have a returning starter quarterback, whether it's Joe Milton, whether it's Cade McNamara, I guess, right? Or an equally talented 5-star quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. A lot of players coming back, all the skill position players coming back. 3 offensive linemen. You have plenty of the defense coming back. If Michigan's going to do it, next year's the year. Because after that, Ohio State's recruiting has just exploded the last couple of years. Their talent's going to get better. We see how they, develop quarterbacks. Next year at home is the only chance I see. You do it, maybe momentum changes. Maybe a first-year head coach can come in, change the momentum. But 2021, if it doesn't happen, guys, it could be like 2026 before something happens. If ever at this point. But ask you one more time, get us to 11,000 subscribers if you can. Every time we hit a milestone, we get to bring the show to new advertisers potentially. We get to have more studio time. So if you watch the show, if you appreciate it, if you like what we do, make sure to subscribe. If you haven't, make sure to tweet at me. I'm an MFer. I got your back. I'll follow you. I'll retweet you. Serlin, 2-3. I think he's going to change it to 2-4 now. We probably grab this before we change it. The running back situation. Will Charbonnet transfer? If he's smart, he'll transfer. All right, unless a new coach comes in that he is confident in. If Jim Harbaugh stays, if Josh Gattis stays, why wouldn't he transfer? All right? But who's going to take him? Unless he's hurt and he can prove he's hurt, who's going to take him this season? Because something's wrong, right? 65, 70-yard run, his first carry of the season, I believe. Maybe the second carry, but the first chance he had against Minnesota. And, guys, he's got nothing since. 5 games since, he has done nothing. He's got like a dozen or so carries. He's got like 30, 40 yards, something like that. He has done nothing. So if he's going to transfer, sure. Great. But where's he going to go, right? Is he going to find a situation better in Michigan? Is he going to find a team that's going to give him a starting job? I don't know, maybe, but whatever, I guess he'll transfer. That's a lot of people's mind is who's going to transfer after the season, including Joe Milton. Is Milton going to transfer? I'll give you the same answer. He might. I think he would be better suited, given the fact he's been at Michigan for 3 years now, including 3 full years, not 3 seasons. He early enrolled in 2018. He's been there his senior year of high school, second semester, and then 2 full years after that. So he's been there 3 full years. So he should be close to graduating. With this year not counting against eligibility, he could come back to Michigan as a redshirt sophomore next year, graduate. If he doesn't have the job, then transfer somewhere else. They have 2 years to play. He gets 6 years of eligibility, the way things are working this year with that. So I think he will transfer eventually because I don't see him being the starting quarterback. But I would advise him, Joe, I'll advise you this. You've got 3 years of eligibility left for this year with the NCAA making this year a mulligan. Don't leave Michigan without a degree and go somewhere like Florida Atlantic or FIU or some lower level school. They'll let you start, but you don't got to do it now. Get that degree. If it means, piling on classes this spring and the summer, if you're that close to graduation, go ahead and do that. But he's probably going to transfer, especially if he never gets the job back, which he shouldn't unless something dramatically, crazy changes. But get that degree first, Joe. Go play 2 seasons somewhere else. If you think you're good enough to make it the NFL, it'll all come out at your next school, and you can have that Michigan degree to fall back on. Thanks so much for watching the show, folks. If you haven't yet, be an MFer. Hit this button right here. Oops, I knocked my mic over. And subscribe to the channel. And got a few more videos for you. If you weren't with us earlier in the week, I've got my Sunday overreaction video here. And if you didn't see it, my 5 candidates who could potentially replace Jim Harbaugh as Michigan's next football coach right here.